My story today comes out of Law 360. It's another chapter in the ongoing saga of being able to smoke weed and have guns. And this one involved law enforcement, which I think is another better leg up for us than someone who's an ex-felon getting caught smoking weed and having guns, or being Hunter Biden and chasing whores all over the world while you're snorting coke and buying guns. So what happened here is 5 Jersey City police officers got fired for testing positive for metabolites of cannabis in their urine sample. And one of them, named McKenzie, and if I can get McKenzie's full name here. Anyway, McKenzie is a male. The story says McKenzie's a she, but when I read the opinion, McKenzie's a male. McKenzie is a medical patient, but had gone to a recreational dispensary in New Jersey, bought some weed, had used it, and was a random drug tested in a piss test, pissed dirty, and they ultimately fired him. Well, the city of Jersey City filed a federal lawsuit against the state of New Jersey for their the CREAM Act. And where they come up with these names?
The CREAM Act?
I mean, the sweaty balls. That's what we're going to get, the CREAM Act. I don't know what the hell we're going to have coming out of these things. But the CREAM Act legalized marijuana sale, recreational sale in New Jersey. It also exempted any employees from being terminated or having adverse actions taken against them for using cannabis off the job. And that's where these police officers came in, because none of them were using it on the job. None of them appeared to be under the influence on the job. They had just used cannabis. And they were fired because they violated federal law. And the Attorney General of New Jersey stepped in and said, now hang on here for a second. You can't take adverse actions against these cops unless you have some proof that they were under the influence or using it on the job, which they weren't. And so the next area of contention is, well, you can't be a police officer because you're an illegal user of drugs, and that you can't buy or possess weapons or ammunition if you illegally use drugs. And since marijuana is a Schedule I drug, you can't legally use it. Well, that ran into the state stepping up and go, oh, no, hang on for a second. Because under the Controlled Substances Act, if you're getting under federal law, if you're getting weapons for official use, you don't have to fill out all these forms. Now, the Jersey cops have to go buy their own weapons. The argument was you have to go there, fill out a form, and this McKenzie cop didn't let him know he was using weed. So he's terminated, and they fought this in the administrative law process, which you have to go through when you try to fire a cop. The administrative law judge found that New Jersey's CREAM Act is not in conflict with federal law, and that you can't fire a cop unless you've got evidence that their drug use was on the job, they were under the influence, or they had purchased these drugs illegally. Okay? So the city of Jersey City sued the state over this. These 5 cops are in this federal lawsuit, and the police benevolent organization, believe it or not, came in on the side of the cops in this federal case. And so what this story's about is that the attorney representing the cops sent this administrative law judge's opinion to the federal judge, I guess hoping, praying, wishing, hoping, whatever, this federal judge is going to buy a state administrative law judge's opinions about whether federal law and state law are in conflict, and whether cops can smoke weed off the job and still have guns and things like that. So I think the important thing to understand here, this is in federal court, not a state court action. California took up this conflict issue in federal law in 2008, and we found that no, there's no conflict with federal law, because you can You don't have to grow weed in California. You're exempted from some of the laws. That's not in conflict with federal law. And this administrative law judge found some of the same reasoning here, a direct conflict here. But the interesting thing is that this is all happening under the guise of the Supreme Court's decision in Bruin 2022, where they require that you go now back in history, back to when amendments were, the first 10 amendments were enacted and the Constitution took effect. You look at what was being done historically with guns in those days. And a recent case called Rahimi said, well, we're going to look for analogous situations. And I reported on this and wondered what the hell is analogous situation for having an AR-15 today and someone having a flintlock rifle in 1789 or 91. I don't know. But we now have the state of New Jersey saying you can't fire cops who smoke weed off the job. You're allowed to do that. And inside law enforcement, these are earthquake events, because a lot of the policymakers in law enforcement still don't like weed. They don't want it legalized. And these are all, in my opinion, in my experience, because their mama told them it was bad and mama never lied to them. So, weed's got to be bad. We can't have the stuff around. So I don't know where this is going to go. This is just another chapter in this ongoing saga. The United States Supreme Court has sent some pretty clear messages out there to the appellate courts and to these district courts that you have to go back and look at how drugs and guns were viewed at the start of this nation, or some analogous situation. And I, quite frankly, I'm not seeing where they're going to find that, because there were no prohibitions about using guns with drugs until very recently. And I don't know what an analogous situation is, other than to say, if you're a scofflaw and we're gonna look seriously at restricting your gun use. I don't know where this is going to go, guys. We'll talk about this more as it moves forward. But I don't know. We might see a time when people are allowed to use cannabis and still maintain their gun rights without having to hide around and sneak. Well, I'm going to throw this back at you for what you all think about this latest development here.
So,
and this is I mean, this
Progress.
is why, and I know Jason has evolved on this whole incremental change shit, because that's how government works. But this is why you need, for something issue as big as cannabis, you need sweeping change and you need sweeping legislation, because this is going to gum up our court system. And especially with Chevron deference, that whole thing affecting everything else, like, no idea when we're going to ever get real answers on what can and can't be done.
We'll get tons of real answers
by anybody.
We'll get all the real answers
in this industry.
We'll get the answers from the courts, not from the bureaucrats.
The courts are owned by the bureaucrats.
No, they're not.
Stop it.
They're not.
Stop it.
Dude, the whole system right now is a circle. Like this thing is crazy. You got the Supreme Court is owned by corporations, and they're being bought out by people. And dude, this whole thing is crazy. Burn it down.
No way.
Burn it down.
No way. Shout out to Clarence Thomas.
I believe that change starts locally. I don't believe it starts incrementally when we're doing something like this. Like, I think you're talking about taking people away from their jobs.
I've been saying that from the jump. Your Republican counterpart until recently.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that because I was still speaking. What'd you say?
Yeah, your Republican counterpart on stage with you right now, Jenny Beth, was saying like, oh yeah, when back when the other Republican was on our show, she who shall not be named. Shout out, what up, Gretchen? I know you're watching. But they were like, oh, incremental change. That's how government works. If y'all asking for this, that, and the third, then nothing ever is going to get passed. And where are we right now?
Well, I'm here to say that I think that I disagree with that opinion respectfully. Wherever you are, Gretchen, sorry, we differ on that one.
Look at that. You should have just sang Kendrick Lamar.
I mean,
she ain't like us.
Too, and if this is progress. Cops are people too. They deserve the same freedoms as people in their state are allowed. I don't like the fact that they have to even buy their own guns to begin with. I don't know why New Jersey can't just spring for a service sidearm But the
Especially
idea
with
that
as
these people
expensive
can't
as our
on their
bridges
off
are.
time-
Can I just tell you, if I'm a cop in Jersey and I can buy my own gun, do you know what I'm coming to fucking work with? I'm gonna bring like the judge. I'm gonna have some Jesus.
Some
It's
heat.
called a street sweeper.
I mean, I would set
That's
it
the
up.
name of a real guy.
Yeah, no, I'd set it up so it just popped out of my trunk.
I just,
think
it's sad that it takes the courts to get this kind of movement because, you know, these people need to unwind like anybody else, and a little bit of vice is good. And last I checked, alcoholism and sclerosis was rampant in law enforcement. Why can't these people have the opportunity to unwind just like anybody else in their states?
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm from
Their
a small
drug of
town.
choice.
Cops get drunk there.
Yeah. Well, but I think that because the federal law is in play here, and I don't think we have any historical perspective on preventing someone from buying a gun because they use substances.
We don't.
This is going to get interesting if it gets up to the appellate court level or in the Supreme Court. They could strike down these laws that prevent you from buying or guns or ammunition or possessing them because you use substances that historically have just been, I mean, back in the 1800s, you could buy from the Sears and Roebuck catalog weed.
You know what that would mean, Dale, if that happened? You know what that would mean? That means that you could sesh in the parking lot of the gun range before you go to the gun range.
I always thought it was funny because when we throw Indo Expo in Denver, there was always at the convention center at the same time the gun conference. So you'd see people come through our Cannabis Industry Expo and then they'd go through the gun show. And it was, some of them got lost and were a little freaked out, the more hippie
I'm sure they
ones.
got lost.
Yeah, some of the gun people got lost and were confused, and it was just, it was a nice mismatch. I had a great day.
I bet.
Yes, I did.
Interesting.
You know
Interesting.
what? I mean, you know, if Hunter Biden actually followed through with his appeal paperwork, maybe we'd be somewhere on this.
Oh boy. You know
Speaking
what?
of swampy balls.